All right, we're here with Eli Lieb, who is currently working on his second album. When did you first decide you wanted to pursue singing as a career? And also, you have a very interesting secondary passion that you try to put into your music.
Yeah, the singing, I started singing when I was 12 in like musical theater stuff, and that's sort of when I discovered that I could sing, and up until then I never even thought about it. And I did that for kind of most of high school, and then when I was 16 is when I picked up a guitar for the first time and started writing then, and that's sort of like how that developed. And the secondary thing you were talking about, which I don't look at something as necessarily secondary, just something of who I am, is
Right.
the meditation. I have been meditating pretty much my whole life. I was born into a family of people who meditated, so I learned at the earliest that you can teach somebody this specific kind of meditation, which is Transcendental Meditation. It was at like 5 years old, so I've been doing that for a long time, and it's less of something that it's something else that I do and more of something that's who I am.
Okay. Does that help you in terms of when you're songwriting and doing your music?
I think that anything that puts you more in touch with yourself, makes you go inward and understand yourself more, will help anything that you do. You know, be it like a creative field or anything. I think that when you're more in tune with yourself, you'll create a better, more organic product.
Now, you said you went into musical theater in high school. Did you ever want to pursue acting, or did you simply know you were going to do the singing route?
It wasn't so much acting. I definitely for a while thought that I wanted to like be in musicals and like do that whole Broadway thing, but it wasn't the acting that drove me. It was more the singing, and I liked being on a stage and being able to sing.
And you are from Iowa and moved to New York, and then you made the decision to go back to Iowa and pursue your career there.
I actually was born here, and most of my relatives live here.
Okay.
So my whole life I've been going back and forth. I mean, not living-wise. I lived in Iowa, but would visit all the time. And then I moved to New York when I was 20. And then a decade later, I decided to move home. And now I kind of just go back and forth, but use Iowa as my home base. And Iowa is also where my music studio is. So that's where I need to be when I make music, because at this point, I don't have anything set up in New York to make music. So New York is more when I come to do this kind of a thing or be social, because when I'm in Iowa, it's just the music, because there's no social there.
Right. And now, in terms of the meditation, do you find that you have to do it more when you're in New York because it's such a faster-paced environment than Iowa, or are there certain things you have to do when you're in New York to get yourself to a certain place to write more for your music? Like, does your environment, physically change your way you approach your writing and your music?
Definitely. I mean, when I'm in New York, I just find it much harder to concentrate and harder to write because of all the distractions, and there's so much energy going on. And whenever I'm here for a good amount of time, the second I get home to Iowa, I just explode with ideas. And I'm in my music studio for days just like doing stuff constantly, because when I get to this place, when I get back home where it's very quiet and it's more subtle there and you can hear your thoughts more, it just sort of like I hear everything much clearer and it just comes out of me.
And how would you describe your music for someone who may be watching this and has never heard it or isn't familiar with what you produce, and you're saying isn't secondary, it is part of you?
Well, I initially write the songs usually on like a piano or a guitar, and at my shows a lot of time it could be just acoustic like that. But when I record stuff, it's definitely more on the electro pop kind of genre. I really am drawn to synthetic electronic sounds, but I also am really drawn to like very melodic, like orchestration, and I like marrying the two together. Like somebody who does that a lot is like Bjork. I'm not comparing myself to her, but
Right.
the only comparison I have there is that she has these really largely melodious string sections and orchestration, but she combines it with like really crunchy synthetic electronic sounds, and I'm like really drawn to that.
When did you realize for yourself that music was something that was soothing to you, and when did you decide you wanted to do that for others?
I think for myself, I just figured it out when I started singing, because when you tap into something that is like really deeply who you are, you just feel that different regardless of what you're doing. And I kind of started to want to do it more publicly as when I started putting stuff on YouTube, and I started getting responses that people were responding really well to it and feeling different when they listened to me. It started to make me want to do it even more for people, because I saw it had an effect on people. And I think that with whatever one is doing, if you're doing it from like a really pure, unfiltered place, it has more potential to then affect people, because I feel like you can capture more of the feeling in sort of an organic, unfiltered product.
And with your second album, what can your fans expect from you? More along the similar lines from your first album, or is there going to be some newer stuff?
It definitely won't be out of left field. Like it'll be cohesive with the first album, but there's a bit more acoustic stuff put in with the electronic. But it's overall just sort of like a continuation, but it's also, I'm much more mature as a producer and a songwriter, because I think we keep on learning and evolving, so it's kind of just my evolvement, but it definitely is cohesive.
And now you mentioned that you got your start posting yourself on YouTube. Do you feel that the advent of digital websites like YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that, do you find that that's really helped you as an artist get your music out there, and do you find them beneficial in getting yourself out there and even getting yourself more recognized than maybe if you had to have gone the traditional route in terms of getting yourself seen by a bigger label at first, and you know what I mean, like really?
No, yeah, I mean, it's totally 100% essential for me, at least. I started out posting on YouTube, so theoretically, without the internet, without YouTube, I wouldn't be here right now. I mean, I probably would, maybe, but I would have to go down a much different way. Like, before the internet came around and was very prominent in terms of being able to build careers in social media, somebody like myself would have to just drive themselves to like every town in the country and just play and play and play, kind of like what Ani DeFranco did. Right. Which is somebody that I greatly admire, and I basically learned how to play guitar by listening to her. But the way she built up herself, because she's totally independent, is just doing that, spending years on the road, just going to every little town and playing at every spot, and that was her networking. And now with the internet, you can basically create that without having to do that. I mean, as an artist and a performer, you want to play shows and tour. Right. But to get your start, it's much different now.
What's that like for you, just going on Twitter and having people respond to you and just saying how much they like your music, in and of the fact that you can get instant feedback, on Facebook and on Twitter, and somebody can listen to your record who may not have had, or any way to find you other than that fact. What's that like for you to get that feedback instantly, and have so many people turned on to your music?
I mean, ultimately it's great. It can, I think when you put anything public, you're going to get all sorts of feedback, so you have to put yourself out there for anything to come back. Right. But overall, it's really great, because the more feedback you get of people responding well to what you do, it makes your confidence in what you do grow. So it's been also a tool for me to feel confident in what I'm creating, that people will want it and like it. And then when you are functioning from that place, it just opens up a different creative spot, at least for me. It doesn't make me second guess myself very much. I sort of stand firm with what I do.
What advice would you give to people who are just starting out in the industry, or people who may look up to you and say, they know that they have the talent, what would you tell them, in getting started and, even taking care of their voice and, what did you do when you were first starting out, to keep your voice what it is today?
Well, I think what I would tell people is, like, if they have a vision for themselves, just stick to it. I think individuality is a very large thing, and I think that it can be scarier trying to be your own thing and doing it your own way, because it could be a longer path. But I think that people like individuality, and they like seeing something they haven't seen before. So if you have an idea for what you want to do, just like listen to your gut as opposed to what other people tell you, because you're going to, every day of your life, if you're an artist and you're putting yourself out there, you're going to hear differences of opinions, and you all of a sudden realize that you're never going to please everybody. So if you know that, the only person that you can please is yourself.
Right.
And when you really believe in what you do, you will get positive response. So I'd say just stick to your guns.
And what's the hardest thing that you've had to hear that maybe made you want to stop, but you didn't, that you persevered and you kept going? And not even, it wouldn't have to be from a particular person, but did you ever get to a point where you were going to pack it in, and what made you keep going? You've always known this is what you were going to do, and you stick to it.
There might be like bumps and roadblocks that sort of like get in your way mentally, just as being a frustration, but it never derails. I think another thing with being successful in whatever you want to do is persistence. I think that what makes people not succeed in what they want is by putting the brakes on and slowing down and stopping. Keep on going through all the barriers is a huge, huge thing.
Is there a genre of music that maybe now scares you a little that you would like to try, that you would like to put yourself out there and do?
No, I mean, I'm kind of open to whatever.
To everything?
I listen to absolutely everything. I listen to something just because I like it, but I'll also listen to something because I like the production of it, and I want to, it's how I learn also. Like if I listen to an artist that I don't necessarily listen to because I just love the music, but I'm intrigued by the way it's created, I'll listen to it in a very different way. I'll be just like really listening to every little tick that's going on and seeing how they do it. So nothing really scares me. I'm kind of just do whatever.
And where can people find your music?
All over, that's on iTunes, and they can go to my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Eli Lieb Music. I'm on Twitter, which is Eli Lieb, and then EliLieb.com, all that stuff.
Do you have any shows coming up here in the New York area?
Not right now, no.
Okay.
I'm sort of in recording mode.
But they can check your website for
check
upcoming
all
stuff.
those. I'm very active on all the social media stuff, so if they join any of those, like any of them, they'll get up to date.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking time to do this.